a Zoom room where we have we have Shawn Gumataotao, who's a former communications director in the Camacho administration, and we have a former chief of staff for the Gutierrez administration, Cliff Guzman. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Right on. Let's just get right into it. Obviously,
Was that a debate? Good old fashioned smackdown.
I know. No, it wasn't. Yeah. It was more of a brawl. A good friend of mine made the comment that it was kind of like going to watching a bar brawl between a drunk and a college professor. You know, and you guys can figure out who's who on that one.
right.
But it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Sean?
Yeah, I was just reading today. I think it was someone wrote that what we're witnessing is this constant erosion of what things that we thought were kind of uniting us in America, and we saw it at play last night. It was absolutely just a crazy. I just can't describe it any way but crazy.
Right. I mean,
it was an embarrassment. It was a plain embarrassment to anybody who carries a U.S. citizen passport, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It was an embarrassment to America and to our democracy. And I'm talking about the entire process, you know?
Right.
It was awful.
yeah, I mean, this was definitely one for the ages.
Right. Well, was there any good parts?
Yeah, we saw a clear contrast between the two candidates. There's a good start.
Yeah, you know, to me, like there was a couple of big policy, I guess, call them bombs that were dropped between the president and the vice president. But if you're an undecided voter, especially in America, they probably weren't moved enough. I mean, obviously, Republicans they're rooting for their president. The Democrats are rooting for the vice president. But the undecideds are what's going to decide the final outcome. And I don't think they got much. I looking forward to the vice presidential debate. As soon as you're already through the 1 hour of the crazy, I'm we got to get to the vice presidential debate fast because this was just starting to fall apart midway.
Well, I would submit that any independent or undecided that was watching this probably turned off the TV 20 minutes into it and said, I'm not even going to get out there and vote. So it was a net zero as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But, to me, unfortunately, the president exemplified, he underscored all of the things that have been said about his demeanor, his style, his bullying tactics throughout his presidency. And it all came out. When he didn't have an answer, he deflected or changed the subject. When he didn't like what Joe Biden was saying, he rudely interrupted him and threw dispersions. And, people wanted to watch because they wanted to know how the candidates were going to deal with coronavirus. We're going to deal with no jobs, was going to deal with climate change. And it was really awful. And then total lack of empathy and the death of Joe Biden's son. Granted, Joe Biden was shooting back at him for some of his comments about the military. I get that. And then his dealings with Moscow, which have been proven to be untrue. But for the most part, I think that Joe Biden was the man of the hour yesterday. When he was given the chance, he looked directly at the people, right into the camera, and tried to lay out some plans of what he was trying to do. I really didn't hear any from the president, unfortunately. And, this whole thing, his non-commitment to accepting independent results of the election. I mean, if he didn't win. And then this whole issue on the Proud Boys. Hey, stand back and stand by because I'm coming back. And, we're going to rock this world. That's the sense I got out of that. And honestly, that's not what America needs to hear. That's not what we need to hear at Guam. We may not be able to vote for president. We may not have a vote on the floor of Congress, but we do have a dog in this fight because everything that happens to America affects everyone on Guam one way or another. Just take a look at it. The foreign policy or lack thereof. Foreign policy seems to be foreign to this administration. And now we're taking the brunt. China's doing videos of blowing up Anderson. All of this stuff affects us, and we can't be disassociated. We have the option to get out there and make the calls to our family and our friends and ask them to vote for the people that we believe is going to take our nation forward, which includes the territories. Right. And we've just got to be passionate about it. And I am passionate about it because we all want to get out of this issue of COVID and the economic turmoil.
Shawn?
Tactically, I think the president started off, at least when he started to intervene, jumping in and, his usual kind of outbursts and the like. Now, I expected, and I think most of America expected him to do it. I think
Yes.
when you look at the debate, think about, I've been watching these debates since 2008. I've been, actively participating in them. I've helped prepare candidates for them. But maybe early on was great. But when the president kind of got a little bit too carried away, if he would have just held back, I mean, there's been a lot of criticism of the vice president that his I guess, command of the issues, he would fall apart as he was starting to, talk about his plan for America. If the president just allowed him to do it, I'm sure it would have fell apart, but he had to constantly jump in. It kind of helped him because I would tell you, remember, we still got 2 more debates to go, that the idea that he interjected so much, it took away, actually it helped him because the bar was super low. And he had to kind of come, because remember, he's been kind of holed up. He hasn't really gone out publicly that much, but versus the president, and who has the bully pulpit. He is the incumbent. Yeah. So it was just, I think the president just gave him too much yesterday, and hopefully he'll change that tactic going into the final 2 debates.
Right. I couldn't watch the whole thing because it just seemed like there was no decorum whatsoever. People were telling people to shut up, you're a liar, and the whole stand back, stand by. What was that?
What was that all about?
Yeah, I think, if you look at that, obviously we're going to look at those moments. I watched it twice. The first time it was very painful. It was like watching a WWF wrestling match, right? And then the second time you're watching it, I'm watching it for more the detail. Right. And that's when you start to see it kind of emerge, and the different policy considerations, from the Supreme Court nomination to climate change to the economy, all of those, you start to kind of see it. And if there was more time, at least to hear the issues, I think people would have got a better idea of who they were.
Well, I think that's what everybody was expecting. Because right now, we need a president that's going to heal our nation and put us on the road to recovery, not one that's going to continue to sow seeds, of discontent and mistrust. We need leadership that will bring our nation together, and not continue to tear us apart. Now, the incumbent has that opportunity to do it. It hasn't happened yet, to any real extent, and so there has to be an alternative. And again, it's got to be somebody who's going to pull people together. We've got so many issues. I keep going back to foreign, our whole approach to how we deal with foreign nations, and in climate change, in borders, and all of this stuff. And I just think, all I can do is take a look at it and say, well, this basically, to me, really drew a stark contrast between the two. Joe Biden notwithstanding, he had his moments too. He had, just shut up, those kinds of things. But really, put yourself in his position. There's only so much you can take before you're going to kind of say, hey, come on now.
Shut up.
Shut up already,
But there was a couple moments where, when they were asking him, like, why don't you call the governors of those states that were affected and tell them, or the cities, and he says, no, I can't. I'm a former vice president. For me, as a person who understands that a phone call to these political leaders, it would have caused some kind of reaction. But when he said, no, I'm not going to do it, it just showed just the difference between, he has the ability. He's the candidate for the other party. I was kind of surprised at the answer. If that was one moment for me as a person who knows that a phone call can do much, but it was seemingly that there was a chance lost by the vice president. And I had the privilege to work with him during the Obama administration. It just seemed so way off than what I was used to from hearing from him. So it was a surprise, to be honest with you, outside of the other parts of it that were interrupted constantly by both the president and the vice president. Right.
Well, I think to a certain extent as well. I think that it is the president's purview. It is the president's responsibility to reach out to the states, because he's president for everybody. He's not president for Democrats or Republicans. He's president of the entire nation. He has a responsibility. This whole thing about the California wildfires. Excuse me, we're having wildfires in Oregon and Washington as well, and it's all about clearing out the forest floor, forest management, and it's nothing about climate change.
Got to rake it.
I don't get that. I just don't get that, because all the signs are around us. And so, burying your head in the sand is not the answer, all right? And I am passionate about this because this is going to affect all of us. Climate change is affecting us. We can't even depend on when our typhoon season comes through anymore, And so, those kinds of things. Racial injustice affects us because it bleeds over to the people who are coming here. My biggest issue, we're trying to get our tourism industry back up. We can't use the tag where America's Day begins anymore, or America and Asia, because the U.S. is on the bad list for everybody and all the countries we're trying to market to. It's kind of like, wow, and anybody who says Guam doesn't have a stake in this election, in my view, is wrong, and we have to acknowledge that. And so, again, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat or independent. We have to reach out and be part of this process by at least making calls to the people we know, our friends, our relatives, family who are out there, and say, get out and vote. If you don't want to vote in Guam, that's fine, but get out and vote. And same thing here in Guam. It's the same thing we're going through in Guam. We're all socially distancing our voting. It's a voting season. It's not a voting day. We all need to get out and vote. And that's the thing, because if we start letting up, even if we're 4,000 miles or 8,000 miles away, if we start letting up, we are also kind of like the straw poll for the United States, So we got to show the United States to a certain extent that we are ready to stand up and vote no matter what, and no matter what party you're in, but get out and vote. And this will, hopefully, we're not going to have another debacle in the next two. And I hope that those in power to shape the way these debates are going to go are going to give a kill switch to the moderator and give them the opportunity to say, okay, 3 minutes are up, boom. I mean, you guys all know when I had to go through that stuff, moderate all of those public hearings for the
better you than us.
Yeah, but it was rough, but you know what? People actually stuck to that, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And just imagine if there was a judge from Wisconsin out here with a gavel. Oh boy, there would have been pandemonium. Anyway, we don't need pandemonium in the United States. We need leadership that's going to drive us and bring us together. Open up the tent, let everybody in, fix it together. And again, my perspective, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the team that's going to be able to do that. In my perspective, Trump has shown that he does not have that ability, except for the Proud Boys. Okay.
Shawn, we'll give you the last word. Shawn, thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, well, I would tell you that, the debate itself is designed for the American people to look and hear from their who will be the next leader of our country. So the debates, they're still remaining. There's still time for, at least in my view, that both candidates are going to be able to tell the American people what they're hoping will be some good things that they're going to provide over the next 4 years. But there's a stark contrast between the two candidates. For the president obviously has a record he's running on, an economy that was decimated by the COVID-19 outbreak. The vice president's coming in, kind of sitting in a sense, on the sidelines and saying, hey, listen, guys, I'm the party, but his issues are a little bit, got other issues too. Can he reach his base? Can he bring them all together? Because at the end of the day, when the American people vote, they're voting to see what our country will look like over the next 4 years. I would tell you the territories are going to be greatly affected by the next president. The current president is doing his part to help and reach out to all the territories. He's providing much more support than we saw, believe it or not, when the Obama administration was in. But the debates itself, guys, I think that's what we're talking about, was the debates are going to help us either frame it And already there's people voting already across the country, but it is going to dictate whether they ticket. And Cliff was right. He said that the Guam straw poll is going to say a lot about what the election's going to look like, and it has, gosh, since the Reagan election. It has told told America. The White House is well aware of what the straw polls here will say. The White House will be calling here on election day to find out how it goes. It is the bellwether that will decide what will be the outcome of the American election.
Exactly.
Thank-
And we need to show them. We need to show them. We need to be that bellwether and own it. Yep.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Cliff. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good
We'll
to
see you guys
you.
later. Thanks again.
This was better than a cup of coffee in the morning. Thank
Right.
you.
Well, let's do it again tomorrow then.
There you go.
It's those duendes, Chris, the little KUAM Zoom room duendes that hooked us up with the
Yeah,
coffee.
that's it. That's it.
Well,
That's
enjoy
it.
your virtual
Sean, Good to
donuts.
see you again.
Thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, right. All right. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Cliff Guzman, Shawn Gumataotao. Good discussion there on the presidential